episode 3. We're going to try this again. We had a little technical difficulties. If you're joining us on Apple Podcasts, please understand there's a few minutes of silence or break before because we are broadcasting on Facebook Live. If you can hear me, please comment so I can make sure that the technical issues have been resolved. Hello? You guys can't hear me? Okay, can you hear me now? All right, so we're going to continue, and I hope that you guys can eventually hear. So, like I said, welcome to the Collect Your Life podcast by Collect Your Life Incorporated. I am the owner, creator of Collect Your Life Incorporated. I am so appreciative of you guys being here and being a part of the live and a part of the podcast. So, I need for you to comment, make yourself known, and please make sure you're interactive with me. So if you're on the podcast, you're going back and listening to this, don't feel that you can't go back and comment on the Facebook Live. Please know that we do interact as best as we can with everyone who comments and shares. We definitely love the feedback and the community. So, um, if this is your first time coming in, being a part of our live, we appreciate it and we thank you so much for taking your time to be here. So, Collect Your Life Incorporated. If you already listened to and watched episodes 1 and 2, you kind of have a gist of what we offer. But I'll just reiterate it for those of you who are joining us for the first time, or you may have just forgotten. So, Collect Your Life Incorporated is a business that offers a bi-weekly podcast. We offer writing and tutoring services, and we also have merchandise that is launching. We are based out of Memphis, Tennessee, and myself, the owner, Janessa Henderson, it I am an educator in I can hear myself, so it's kind of hard to talk and hear myself in my earpiece. So, I'm an educator of 10 years and I teach high school students English. So, I am very excited to be here. So, like I said, let's go ahead and get started. Episode 1, we focused on who we were. We focused on normalizing things for new moms. Just a bit of how I collected my own life and a bit of my testimony. Episode 2, we talked about grace, allowing people grace, showing grace, but not giving them access. We don't have to give them access to us. So that's what we talked about in our last 2 episodes. So now we've come down to episode 3. So if you're into numbers, 3 is a great number. Like, it really is. A lot of good things come in threes. So, episode 3, you saw there were improvements. There was a video before the live began, before the podcast began. So, we're making improvements. So, if you understand, in this episode, we're going to talk about prioritizing, priorities, goals, all those themes. So, with that being said, just going over some priorities that you may have, just giving you an example. With Collect Your Life Incorporated, this vision of this business, everything that it is, bits and pieces of it was given to me about 2 years ago or so. So with that, I was just like, okay, so how am I gonna do it? Like, what's gonna happen? Because at the time, I was a new mother, and I didn't know, like, how am I gonna be a teacher, a mom? Uh, I was planning on going back to school eventually, which I am in now, and like, and at the time I was somebody's wife, so it was just like, how am I gonna balance all these things? So this episode, we're focusing on balance, priorities, boundaries. So I don't know if we have an acronym, but BPB: boundaries, priorities, balance. So that's what we're focusing on today. So, with boundaries, let's talk about that first. So, boundaries are very important, especially with family, especially with anyone who comes and interrupts your peace. So, just thinking about your life and the people you surround yourself with, and the people that you cling most to, your circle, your friends, all those people, are those people constantly building you up, or are they pulling you down? Like, every time you're around them, you have the best time, you have great energy, you feel at peace, you go about your day and you're just, oh my god, I just feel so great, light, fluffy, you know, if I could describe it like that, if you're looking for something as a description, they just bring you peace. Those people stay around. People who drain you, let's set a boundary. So we talked about last weak with some people. You're their friend, but they're not your friend. So, with that being said, with boundaries, it's the same kind of concept. You technically cannot cancel someone um, unless you've gotten some type of word from the Lord that said, yeah, you need to counsel them. Like when the Lord told me to leave my ex-husband, counseled, or other people that I needed to leave or be separated from, counseled. And you still love them with the love of the Lord, but we we not we don't have no connection, you know? So it's the same thing with certain people. You may have to have an assignment to that person, though. You may not have access, just like we talked last episode. Show grace, show love, no access, but they are assigned to you. What do you do when they drain you? How do you go about your day? Like, what are you doing? So, that being said, you have to set healthy boundaries. Even with people who are good, or you need that time, and this kind of goes into the balance piece, but you have to have time for you. So, setting healthy boundaries, like if you see your phone ring or you see a text message, it's not going to bring you peace. You're not at a place where you can fully provide any type of great conversation. There's, you know, a conversation that's going to be provided, that's going to uplift you. You feel like you're going to be drained already just by looking at the name of the person calling or texting. Do not answer. And we have a comment: Boundaries by Henry Cloud is an incredibly helpful book, also. Yes, thank you for that. We appreciate that book suggestion. So, yes, you have to set those boundaries. You cannot have all that draining you, this person, that person, this person. You have to understand that you are one person. You are one person. They can't take all of your energy. And you, again, it's a saying that goes on and on. You hear it all the time. You can't pour from an empty cup. So, that being said, family, familiar people, and those sometimes can be the worst. Friends, all those, because they think that you should give them access always. You can't do that if you're already drained. You already low. The day ran you low and you just on E. And you know this person is going to bring, like, you're going to be in a negative of energy. Just stop and don't answer. Answer when you can. Answer back at another time. Or sometimes, if it's easier for you to answer a text message with a phone call, like they call you, you don't answer. but you text them and say, I'll text you later, that's a boundary, because you have to do that for you, for your mental state, for your health, period. So the next piece is priorities. Like, what are your priorities? Have you set your goals? Have you accomplished those things? So with Collect Your Life, with things that are going to come out in our merchandise line, our journal to be exact, you'll be able to write down, what are my goals for today? What are my goals for this week? What are my goals for the next 5 years, the next 10 years? So make sure that you understand prioritizing the things that take importance. And I say that to say, because sometimes we get so consumed looking at the end picture, and we're like, I don't know how it's gonna become what it's supposed to become. I don't know how I'm gonna make it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But if you prioritize and you understand, like, let me just get this top thing done, I would have been complete. Let me meet my sales goal. Say you're a business owner, your sales goal is 1,000 a month. You meet that. Stop taking any more engagements that month because you've met your goal. Don't overwork yourself. Don't overdo it. Don't overthink it. You have to live. You're not just put on this earth just to work, 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 and then die. You have to live and experience life. So, with priorities, just talking about Collect Your Life, 2 years ago, when bits and pieces of the business was given to me, and I was like, how am I going to do it? I don't know. How? Like, what ways do I need to go? What avenues? And this year, I got my incorporation in my state. I got my EIN number. And I said, I am launching this year. It wasn't just me, it was really the Lord saying, um, you have to launch this business. Like, you can't keep sitting on this that I gave you. So with priorities, I had to get the steps in order. I said, okay, so Lord, how do you want me to go about this? Like, do you want me to just start going on Facebook Live? Do you want me to just find Apple Podcasts? Like, how do you want me to start this business? So I had already been tutoring on the side, so I didn't know that was going to be a part of the business until this year. I thought that was just going to be my separate, me as a teacher tutoring on the side, private tutoring. But no, the Lord said it needs to be a part of Collect Your Life Incorporated. So I got my incorporation. I got the EIN number. And that was back in March, April. And I didn't launch Collect Your Life until September. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you for coming back. So I was like, what Like, there was a whole month of time, many months of time, that there was no Collect Your Life. I had already had my logo. I knew who was going to create and help my website. And I just was like, okay, so why do I need to do it at this time? But it all made sense. It was needed to be done. Um, if you know me personally, I was in the middle of a divorce. The pandemic slowed down the courts, and I was just still tied legally to my ex-husband. So it was the time that needed to be done that I launched, that I am now, free, clear, and able to be in my own without having any legal ties to anyone else except for my child. So it all happened when it was supposed to happen. But I had to have my priorities in place, because if I didn't, it's like it wasn't going to prosper the way it's going to prosper. So if you're a part of Collect Your Life Incorporated fan club, or you're listening now, thank you for being in the first premier group. But this is going nationwide. It's going global. Um, we are going to be bigger than we are now. So I speak that over it, and it will come to pass. So we appreciate the support from our beginning fans and participants and supporters. We just really appreciate you. So, with the priorities, you have to prioritize your time. You have to set those goals. I set a goal that I would be on Apple Podcasts, having no idea how to be on Apple Podcasts, how to set it up, how to do anything. But in myself, I wanted to wait until I had Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, all these different places to do the podcast in addition to the Facebook Live. However, the Lord said, no, you need to launch Collect Your Life Incorporated this day. And I did. And then after that, that's when we got so much support and Apple Podcasts. I was like, well, it'll come. It won't be, maybe next year or something. But we're on Apple Podcasts. Some of you are possibly listening. And we appreciate all you guys being a part. So I had to prioritize and get my goals in order. And when you do that and just let God lead you, let the Holy Spirit lead you, it's like a totally different, it'll blow your mind. Like, my mind was blown that I was on Apple Podcasts. If you know me, I'm one of the most humble people ever. And I was just like, oh Lord, I thank you. I was so grateful, and I'm not tech savvy. So it was so awesome to see my name on Apple Podcasts. So our last topic, which we have a few minutes, our last topic is balance. This is something, me personally, I am working on. So with balance, you have to understand that in life, you have to be able to balance your personal life and the things that you personally, just you by yourself, need to relax and decompress from the day. Not just um being at home and being around the kids, but what can you do that makes you happy? What relieves stress for you? What things that are healthy that you can do to balance? And I say, with everything that's going on in the world, this is something that needs to happen at least twice a week, because it's so much going on with the pandemic. It's so much going on with life in general. You have to be able to balance. So, with balancing, for me, one of my balances going to the gym, just going at the gym, spending that time at the gym on the elliptical treadmill, everything. And it's just so therapeutic to me. I get off tired because I'm trying to get back in shape after having a child. But I feel so much joy, like I was able to do this thing that I needed to do. So, what are some things in the comments that you guys do for your own quote unquote self care or balance, so you can have that time alone, so you can regenerate, get your energy back? Maybe when somebody drains you low, or the day drains you low, or school drains you low, or if you are in leadership somewhere, it drains you low. What are some of the things that you do for balance? All right, I'm waiting for some comments. Phone on do not disturb multiple times. Yes, that's one of mine too. Self care and exercising. Okay, yeah, exercising for me for sure. And also, self dates are good for me. Like me getting dressed up, dolled up, like I'm going with somebody, but I'm going with myself. And it's the best feeling. It really, just spending that time with yourself. Journaling is another one for me. Listening to music, um, walks in the park. Yes, those are good too. Meditation and prayer. Yes, all these are good. So we got to remember to set boundaries with people. Make sure we're meeting our priorities and not trying to over prioritize our day, and making sure you're having that healthy balance between all your responsibilities and yourself. Bike riding, yes. Email, I respond to calls, emails when it's convenient for me. Yes, that goes along with the balance. I mean, the boundaries also. Yes, that's good. Worship time, yes. All these are great examples of balance. So if you're listening on the Apple Podcast, we want you to come back to Facebook Live and comment, the things that you may do for balancing purposes or setting boundaries for yourself. So, this has concluded my portion of the live. I would like to open the floor for anyone who may have a question for Collect Your Life Incorporated at this time before we close. Okay, don't see any comments, don't see any questions. So, again, I would like to provide my sincere thanks for you guys tuning in on Facebook Live, and I appreciate if you go to Apple Podcasts. Please make sure you follow us, subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for going to Facebook, liking our page. Thank you for visiting the website, looking at all the services that we offer. We are so appreciative, and we'll see you on October 29th.